Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stone-Faced Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with Macross 7, Episode 12. First things first, we have some comments. Michael Connor from the episode Pineapple Salad. You made a couple of comments. I took your best comments. I put them into this one comment. I think Kaifun is supposed to be annoying. I don't think they realized just how universally reviled he would become. He is hated in all languages by all fans. Now, part of the reason we don't see much of Roy recently is Hikaru's promotion put him on an alternative on deck schedule from Fokker/Skull Squadron. So if Vermilion, Hikaru's squad, was on mission, Fokker and his squad were off duty.
Yeah, that's makes perfect sense.
I think I was making a lot of comments about where's Roy during
Mm.
before Roy's death in Pineapple Salad. So next up, we have Zook, and by the way, this is a translated name. So if your name is not actually Zook, I apologize. That's what Google translates your name to. From the episode Burst Point, according to the original script, Kakizaki was supposed to go out without getting a bite of steak, but the animators felt so sorry for him that they let him have just one bite.
Gonna kill him, but at least he died with a quarter of an empty stomach, I guess.
I mean, to be fair, he went out pretty quickly, so it's not
Yeah.
like he suffered. All right. Well, before we get into thoughts and board stuff, typically we go to your recaps.
Last episode we had the um the big show, the big enchilada, the attempt to make a rethread of Lin Min May's story. Which I called at the very ending of the other episode, and I was right. Um Basically they cast Basara and Mylene as the lead of this sort of, again, propaganda video movie thing they're doing, where they're trying to assure people that, of the history of Macross and the events of Space War 1. Basara is not into it because he doesn't want to play. And I want to interject a little bit of editorial here. I get that Basara is not into it because this is a war hero, right? And he's doing it for the military and the government. He's his own man, yo, and he's not beholden to anybody, even though we kind of know that he is, whether he wants to admit it or not, right? Mostly to Ray and through Ray to the military. Uh, we get a confirmation that Melia and Max are divorced.
Oh, real quick,
But that's
back to your. Sorry, I didn't know you were moving on. Back to your editorial. He does specifically say he doesn't want to create a recruitment thing for the military.
yeah, I
So,
know, but
well, I just mean it's not
but
editorial if it's actually true.
yeah, but he's a beholden to the military, even though he doesn't want to. You know,
I He might not know that. I have a Theta's thought thing about that.
I mean, I don't think he knows, but we know
You know
that
what?
he is.
I'm not gonna hold off. Well, shit. I didn't write it in a way that I can instantly pull it up. My whole thought process is on that he doesn't know Ray's backstory, and Ray might not have shared that stuff with him. So Ray could be helping him out and supplying him without letting him know where it comes from. The same way that he drives off to get the VF-19 out of the repair place without let anyone else knowing where he's going or who he's having everybody. He's keeping everything close to the chest, so it's entirely possible Basara has no idea about his own connections to the military.
Yeah, but at some point, that actually makes Basara sound dumb as
He is
rocks.
dumb as rocks.
Yeah,
So I don't think you can.
because
I don't think you can use the argument that he wouldn't notice when we both agree he's dumb.
yeah, and yeah, we got a conversation. We also get confirmation that Melia had, and with Max, I presume, 7 children. I don't know if that makes Mylene. It doesn't make her the oldest, but I think she makes her her youngest, right? So she has 6 siblings. One of them is a sister,
We
which is the
don't
one we
know.
see in SCF1. At the F1,
I don't know. We can know she's the youngest. We
Oh,
just
we
know
don't see
that we
any of the
haven't seen.
children in the
Yeah,
house.
I'm saying we don't see any others. That doesn't mean that
Yeah,
she's the youngest. We just she could have left some of her kids back on Earth or wherever they may have lived after Earth.
yeah. I mean, if you have a younger kid, like toddler or something like that, she'd probably be taking care of them, right?
Could
Hopefully.
I mean Mylene could have just been the most. I mean, despite what we see on screen, the most attached to her mother at the time, where she might have actually
Yeah.
had younger kids that were more wanting to be independent. It's hard. It's a hard thing to try and make a guess at.
Now, Marlene does point out also that she knows what's going on, and I said it during this episode. I'm going to say it again. Marlene has very big, you know, divorced parents, recently divorced parents energy. Like either you say publicly you're breaking up or you get back together again, make up your mind, right? And Mylene's and Miri is like, well, it's complicated, blah 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 blah, right? um Also, she says when she rates the script that the only thing they get right is the relationship between Max and Milia, which how much Mylene actually knows about the relationship, let's say set them down and they told them the whole story, but everything else seems to be off kilter, which probably means because we get a lot of the visuals are from Do You Remember Love? So
The,
yeah, it might be like, yeah, we're going with the alternate history of what happened during Space War One in order to
I mean, the
continue
element
propaganda.
that instantly came to my mind when it was supposed to be a Min-May a recap thing, and it's supposed to be Hikaru and Min-May and the fighter jet and everything. Beyond the fact that there were two seats, but is the fact that they're piloting the VF-19 as though it's Hikaru's thing, and like they
Yeah.
just added junk to the back. Not, I mean, one, the YF-19 doesn't look like that. Also, it's the wrong color. You couldn't like paint for a paint job, or
Well, it's like what happens in mostly American like after World War II movies where they say, "Oh, we need a German tank," and they would take like an M48 and they put stuff in it and German crosses and all that to make it look like it's
well, technically we
a World
know
War
that they
II.
have old school Valkyries because that's what gets shown in the Gamlin side story bits. Is that Gamlin's in this more advanced fighter, and that all these other old school Valkyries have to go out, and they're the ones that we see getting shot down constantly.
Yeah,
Like,
but they're not the same make as the VF1
oh
though.
yeah, but they're a lot closer. Technically they're something. Did, we saw the number on screen. Was it like 11?
Yeah, VF11s.
Yeah, I mean that's still. I mean it's closer in look anyway than a literally the backward swoop of a VF-19.
Forward, but yeah.
Well, I'm saying backwards because it's the reverse of the normal.
Forward. It's a forward swept fighter. Technically speaking, that's the terminology. Yeah, yeah, forward swift.
I'd say it's the reverse
Uh,
of normal.
yeah, and of course, there's an attack while they're filming, and because what happens is that the replacement for Bazara to play Hikaru turns out to be a complete creep that drags Mylene into the Love Hotel section of the city
With the
to
promise
put the
of
moves on
cake.
her. The promise of cake, uh, because girls love cake.
Who doesn't?
Um, and
Bobby would
it
have
only
gotten
gets
me.
into gets interrupted by the vampire showing up. At least one of them, who shoots um, this guy in the forehead, right, and paralyzes him. Good for the vampires. They did something good. And there's also discussions as well that between Milia and what you're talking about before, where people are scared, right? So this is a video done to the whole thing is to reassure people in the Macross 7 community and also have them either join the military or I don't know, do public service, in the different ships. I don't
I think
know.
it's supposed to reassure people because we had the one. They keep, I have to keep calling him Miria. It keeps throwing me up. Um,
Yeah,
Melia
Milia.
bringing up the list of complaints to the
Hmm.
military when she's talking to Max in private. But they
Yeah.
also mentioned the fact that City Hall is going to get a number of complaints back as well. I mean, not specifically from the military, but they're making it sound as though just the civilians themselves. That's why I repeated back to you once of the They said the civilians aren't idiots.
Yeah,
They
not stupid.
apparently aren't considering the fact that City Hall represents the civilians when they bring that up. So I don't know who specifically is making the list to complain to City Hall, when City Hall is
And also,
giving their own list.
yeah, and also, it seems like there's still tension between. So whatever happened that they got divorced is clearly recent because it hasn't been mentioned twice only, or three times at most. And there still seems to be tension between Max and Milia. Like they're acting professionally as best they can, and they're avoiding any recriminations like, oh, you said this to me and da da da. They're not doing that bit, which is usually when you have a recent divorce. But still, clear distinction and perhaps even affection between them. I mean, 7 kids, come on.
Maybe they get tired of it.
I'm sure somebody did.
I mean, I would assume Melia
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what even Mylene says. You're a monster.
Yeah. And yeah, there's an attack. Again, Basara tries to sing his way through the combat, but Mylene recognizes, having flashbacks to Lin May and her role in Space War One, that's what Basara is trying to do. That he's trying to sing his way to not victory necessarily, but to peace, right? And so she joins in, and they both sing, and it does absolutely nothing except be recorded in the cameras, and they use it,
I
right?
mean,
So it
it
has a
makes sense.
it has again, we're seeing that yes, Basara's music has an effect on the people which already will be affected by this because they're part of the culture and they want to hear the music. But the people that should be affected the most, right? The people who are attacking is like, oh, they have high spiritua. That's it, I guess, right?
Yeah, it'd be like if there was a if Min Mei was born 10 years earlier and tried to sing her way through the Unification War.
It would be great. Sorry about that. It would be great for the people that she's on her side, right? Maybe she's on the UN space, like, oh yeah, she's our girl, but the other side is like, yeah, so who cares? Okay, she seems nice.
All
We
right.
still gotta kill these bastards.
Well, that is the recap. Next up, we
Yep.
got the board, where I've added the two actors playing Brita and
Clemson.
Quamzim. Yeah, I'll be honest. I've seen these two in the behind the voice actors thing, and I was like, oh, cool. Are we gonna get like a Brita cameo or a Quamzim thing? Or I wonder what these two are gonna show up at. Hi, I'm Stern Langau, and I'm playing Brita. Like, fuck off, man. You've ruined it. Anyway, that's those two. Not connected to anybody, but probably there's two giant Zentradi on deck somewhere. And I guess it showed that they have the ability to go giant again.
I mean, that's one of the things that Melia said, not Melia,
Mylene.
Mylene says like, oh, you were a giant once. Oh my god. It's like, and Ray is like, yeah, your mother was Meltron, which you hated automatically when they
I
said that.
still fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Stefan, dead before we ever knew
Yeah.
him. You know,
Yeah.
connected up here all the way to Ray, who I'm also connected in that line to Kinryu, as we found out that was part of Pink Pecker. Is that right?
Something like that. Pecker Squadron.
No, it was
Pink
Pink.
Pecker.
Pink was yeah part of it.
Pink Pecker Squadron. Yeah. It's I mean, okay.
My problem is I'm
They're
thinking, is this too dumb? And I'm thinking, well, no. I remember it was funny because it was dumb.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
And
those three were to group together. So this guy is starting to get more and more included in shit.
yeah, and you have Ray, whose last name is Lovelock,
Yeah, he's our
who
Roy.
was Ray.
No, he's our Roy. I'm saying Roy Fokker, Ray Lovelock.
Yeah. I think they're leaning on that very much. I don't know. Somebody who was naming this maybe had somebody else who uh, read the script, and somebody at least had a giggle out of Pin Pecker Squadron.
No, Giggle's right here.
You know what I mean.
Anyway, also have him tied to Akiko up here because they were in a relationship. Previous episode, we had Alice, who, had a friendship with Mylene. Not much else going on there. This person, who I got confused with Milia before,
Yeah.
they actually had their
Just
name show up in the background. That's what their name is. They're the ones selling albums. We've also seen them singing on television before.
yeah.
Obviously, they're not connected to anybody, but they keep fucking showing up. So, gave him a spot. And then our boy Bobby. That boy ain't right.
No. Oh yeah.
I gave him a red line to Mylene, even though, nothing actually happened. And I don't know if Mylene even
Oh, he got
considers
handsy
it.
with her, so that's bad
He didn't
enough.
get handsy. He didn't even like
No, no,
we know what he was going to do. He never even touched her.
no, he did.
No, he
She
didn't.
slaps him. She he pulls her in
I
like kind
don't
of like a
remember
hug
that.
thing. Yeah,
It's
and
weird
then
because I've
after
watched this
and she
twice and I don't remember that.
she's struggling to get away, and that's when the vampire shows like whoa, and he gets hit
See, in my
in the
memory,
forehead,
they like pull into the parking space and she's like, "I'm just gonna fucking leave," and
and she tries to do
that's
so.
when the vampire hits.
No, she was trying to get
I'm
away
not
from him,
arguing that you're
literally.
not right. I'm just saying I don't remember. I'm just telling you what I remember, just for the
Uh huh.
sake of the audience, I guess. I know there's like a 10% chance, 5% chance I am right because I watched it twice. That's what I'm just not letting go of. How
So
can
you
I
get
have
five
watched
percent.
it twice? They get it wrong.
You get a 5% for every watch you make.
Uh, yeah, maybe. I mean, if there's even a 5% chance that Superman's against us, I have to take it as a 100% chance.
Hmm.
Anyway, anything else to comment about the board?
Nope.
All right, then I got a couple of thoughts to go through here real quick. So our new enemy is following a prophecy, a tale in a dream. They are referring to the Macross 7 fleet as a clan and trying to determine if it is well suited to the dream. The thing is, Giggle doesn't even understand what this dream is, so clearly it's not something that's been talked about much.
Also, they keep talking about harvesting as opposed to hunting,
But yeah,
which is
I mean, I think I brought that up last time we were recording. So that's not really I don't know. My problem is that you're
right.
bringing that up, and I don't know if that's something I've written down for later, but I do remember we talked about it last time. Um, Alice's Spiritia was 45 when she was first on the run. Then the infiltrators lowered her down to 12 before getting brought up to 60 by listening to Mylene singing. By the way, once again, I want to be able to remember the last time, I believe, since we're bringing up past shit, that I think they said 35 was the highest they've ever seen. So insanity brews when we consider the numbers mean nothing, maybe. Um, the infiltrators say that is her fully restored in that the character is capable of rejuvenating Spiritia, which I guess makes sense if Alice was depressed when she ran away, which is why her Spiritia was 15 below maximum that Mylene restores to her. At the same time, I think it also implies that our new enemies may not just have Spiritia, like I mentioned before, but lack the ability to regenerate it, which is why they harvest it from others. Basara's singing also brings her up to 80, implying that the music can push you beyond your normal spiritual capacity. In the episode after, the infiltrators also mention that the musician's spiritua can emanate outwards as it raises the crowd's spiritua. All right, just notes. The irony, I think, is as you pointed out, whatever Basara is up to with his singing in the combats has been fairly ineffective, but has only been doing what the enemy wants, giving proof to the concept of the spiritua farm. Until we get evidence that his singing can create spiritua in them, then it feels like it is actively working against them to be singing at them. Okay. Just a small note, but Mylene's song that she sings to Alice has a backup female vocal that's also her voice.
No. She is her own reverb. That's
Well,
nice.
she sings to her, and then in the subtitles, it's her song, and then like goes parentheses fly fly fly, but the fly 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 comes out while she's also singing her main verse. So her backup vocals is her. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
They call Basara's abnormal Spiritia chord C. Don't know if that means anything. It's just a note.
Yeah.
So something that seems odd that they would have given focus to. In Basara's singing during the Alice episode, Basara fires a speaker pod at the enemy mech and it crashes through the cockpit and just sits there fully intact on the inside. Normally, I would think this would imply something about how they'd be able to track it or how the enemy would be able to use it against them. But in reality, Basara has hit multiple enemy mechs with speaker pods in the past. Many of them have retreated from combat with them in their mechs still. So giving this one in particular any focus just seems odd.
I think they just wanted to change up things a little bit.
Maybe. I don't know what the point of it was. Just before the mechanic in the dock says that Operation M is being delayed, he says, no matter how well it does on the tests, there's no way the VF-19 will be delivered without compensation. Delivered to where or who? Compensation for what? He also mentions that there is a schedule that they are on and they will have to reschedule. A lot more background stuff to try and figure out. We know that Basara said he doesn't know Ray's past, but in the hospital scene where Basara is trying to get the Valkyrie back, it seems like he has no idea about Ray's current military connections either, to the point that Ray tries to keep them secret by doing the whole song and dance we see in the episode to get Basara authorization to get the mech back. I don't know what the hell I wrote there. That's something I was talking about before. That Basara, as dumb as bricks as we both said, um, just doesn't know Roy's backstory. And Ray's backstory. Get me doing it after weeks in advance. I mean, don't point at Justin. He ain't here.
Pointing at you.
I'm not. I'm beside you. I'm over here. Anyway, he doesn't know Ray's backstory and Ray's connections to the military. I'm not sure what the context is to Basara is Ray's dream that he wants to commit his life to, considering the aforementioned secrets that Ray is keeping from him. Obviously, Basara has a goal, and Ray is using all of his connections to push Basara into position to be able to achieve them. But at the moment, it has that same feeling of a kid saying he wants to be an astronaut and having an uncle that works at NASA that keeps putting him in the space shuttle without explaining it to anyone.
Isn't that Space Camp the movie?
I've never seen Space Camp, the movie.
It's just called Space Camp, but basically that's what happens. Kinda.
Maybe I did. I don't know. It probably came on one of those old times that Disney Channel had like free free weekends or whatever. Um, I appreciate the small connective things across the episode so far, like Ray using having an umbrella with you for a picnic as a metaphor for being prepared to calm down Basara about the Valkyrie having missiles in it. And Basara says that he wouldn't need an umbrella because he likes the rain. Then, when Ray's bleeding on the ground outside the hangar and Basara is yelling at him to get back to the hospital, he just tells Basara that he likes the rain.
And
It,
bleeding out.
well, it's just he's sitting behind the tree. All Basara sees is his waving hand. Let's see. Another shot in the dark theory. Probably not a thing. Put it in my 5% column. But maybe the music they are singing is tuned into the background radiation of the universe or something. I know that sounds crazy, but Ray singing the lyrics when he can't hear or see Basara, and Vafidus always drumming the beat no matter where they are, kind of feels like there's an invisible tune always being played, and they are tapping into that. And it would go some ways towards explaining the weird musical symbols that only Ray and Basara seem to understand. Like I say, shot in the dark.
there is something to it, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Well, I know you can't say that with authority unless you cheated at some point.
Uh,
um,
Now that I cheated,
to
but I
This is just a comment they made in the last episode. To play the role of Hikaru, you have to be sensitive.
do you
That's what they said.
see Hikaru can come up as a bit of a jackass
I know.
often.
That's why I wrote it down. They said to play the role of Hikaru, you have to be sensitive. I think they brought that up to Basara. It's like that doesn't seem right. Lastly,
I think it's something that Mylene says to him, but I'm
still,
not
that's
really sure.
that's everyone's recollection of Hikaru was that he was sensitive. And lastly, to hear Mylene tell it, Max broke up with Milia. So that's one thing in that whole thing there. She specifically says, why would he break up with a beauty like you? Implying that he broke up with her. I mean, obviously, this could be divorced kid not knowing what the hell's going on, but she seems to
Yeah,
know everything, so
yeah,
she's.
but I think it's like I said, she has um big divorce kid energy, where divorce, child divorce, where they want, what they want is certainty, right? Which I think what she hates at the moment is that they just can't just say it and move on. She wants certainty. Are you together? Are you not? Just figure it the hell out so we can all move forward, right?
Well, as I often say with any of these, is we only have a few points of contact with the story. So until Max and Milia start talking about it, whatever Mylene says goes in my book.
Yeah, I mean,
All right. Well, anything else you want to bring up before we get into it? All right. That said, I guess we just go ahead and go.
But before we get started,
Make sure that you hit the like button.
hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
on top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
Unfiltered.
Uncensored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Just a little bit louder than Origin was. Also, I don't know how to say this comfortably, but that island was shaped like a dildo. Well, it's got the round bulbous edge to it, but it's got that little curve thing, if you want her to really feel it.
Well, it depends who's big enough to be comfortable with it.
There are giants.
Yeah.
But I'm not stretching to come up with things to talk about in the opening. I just noticed it, and I noticed I've never noticed it before.
Yeah.
What was the name of this episode supposed to be again? You remember?
No, I don't remember, but I do know that. Well, we do. Something's gonna happen with Mylene, as it always does, but something significant, I suppose.
I mean, she is our focus of disaster. I don't know how to say this. When something happens, it tends to happen around her or regarding her. More
Yeah.
so than Basara. Basara throws himself into the action, but nothing
Yeah.
really happens to him.
No.
Unless you count the time where he got into a fight with those people off the train, but then nothing happened to him either.
No.
In fact, Mylene shows up and something happens to her.
Which I think is one of the reasons why I kind of find hard to connect with Basara, because he doesn't seem.
Oh,
he's
previously
not
on.
this- Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. It's literally why I don't like the main character, Kira. Kira from Gundam Seed. Because he's constantly getting into situations where someone's like trying and grab him by the shoulder or something. He's like, oh, nobody touches Kira unless Kira wants you to touch him. And then when he actually gets into a fight, it's always arm behind the back. If I wanted to fight you, you'd be in trouble right now. It's like, God, I hate you, you pompous son of a piece of shit. At least Basara isn't pompous about it. Basara just feels frustrated, and I can appreciate that much.
Mostly oblivious. That's what he is.
Well, no, I mean, like, oh man, they left again and I didn't get to finish my song. Like, he's frustrated. Yeah, no, they're clearly this episode has to have a lot of shit about Spiritia. If we go through all this flashback about people getting hit by the Spiritia sampling beam, and nothing fucking happens with Spiritia, I'll be disappointed. Because I think I have been talking about what the Spiritia shit will mean, or what it means, every episode. It's been the basis of my entire theory. Like, I said 3-pillar theory so far. But you know, I mean, Masara isn't oblivious as much as he is like, I want to sing my song for the enemy, and then they leave, and he's like, ah, damn it, I didn't finish my song again.
Oh, she's wearing the kimono again.
Must be another gambling date. Move your arm. Just move your arm.
Also, I guess they do give driving licenses to 14-year-olds, I guess.
Or, you know, my mother's the mayor, fuck you. Oh, right, Spiritual Farm.
Spiritia Farm.
Okay, not a gambling thing.
昨日の曲の5小節目のところからアレンジし直してみたんだけど。
なんだそんな格好して。
へへ、いいでしょう。どう？
無理してると転ぶぞ。
She thinks it worked on Basara once, so maybe she's trying it again.
暴れるには向かない格好だぜ。
暴れようと思って来てないわよ。
そうかい。
まったく。レイ、そんじゃ後でね。
おおう。
練習しないのか？
デートなの。
そうか。無理すんな
Or
よ。
maybe I am right. Over
してな
again.
いわよ。
He wants you to notice her, you idiot.
Well, no, remember,
And those.
Gamblin wanted to wear it on their next date. So,
Yeah, I know, but the fact that he's like, he's like,
お待たせ
blasé
しま
about
し
it.
て。
well, she wore it for him once already, and she thinks it worked. So,
ただいまミレーヌ様が到着されました。着物姿がとってもよくお似合いです。普段ギンギンのロックなんかやってるとは。
どうでもよい。ちゃんと見張ってろ。
はい。
Michael the Creep.
いいな。
Oh, he said he was about to describe how it looked at her, and it's like, I don't care about that.
Oh, yeah, but we know Michael's a
そうで
creep.
すけど。
Can't take that
Yeah.
back.
チャラチャラしてる女の子
True,
とは
that's true.
全然違いますよ。
Are those gray flames?
そうですか。
Yeah.
え？
They were gray in the long shot, so I assumed you saw them gray in the close shot.
ミレーヌさん、
Yeah.
歌なんか好きですか？
歌？
その人
Oh, right, last time he was on the fighter jet, he heard the singing and said, oh, that's Miss Mylene singing too.
カラオケなんかにはよく行きますよ。
そうですか。そうですよね。
そうなんです。
I mean, at the same time, though, she would have your food.
ミレーヌさん。
Yeah, your
Oh.
tomatoes in the food.
Yeah, she's not used to. Oh boy.
グババ。
グババ。
これグババ。いつも一緒なんです。
グババ。
大丈夫よグババ。パパからもらったんです。プキラセス星系の惑星のお土
Okay,
産で。
it's just some alien
そうで
thing.
すか。
So it's an alien.
私の分身みたいなもので
Alright,
して。
I paused just to see what that was. What I was gonna say
可
was
愛いですね。
he's clearly going on about her and Basara singing together in the thing. It's like
ちょっと失礼
you
し
would
ます。
know that they were together because they were both cast in a role that like Max
Yeah.
is pushing as like the commander.
So finally, we have an answer what Guava is. It's an alien.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all thought it was an alien. So is nobody concerned that these things just wander into the women's restroom? Damn. I mean, these guys are like at the top story of this building. This guy
Yeah,
walked
these-
through the whole fucking
この動
building,
物を置いて
walked into the women's
どこかから行く
restroom.
とは考えられません。
誘拐か。目撃者らしい人物が見つかりました。
やっぱり誘拐なんですか？
はい、まだ詳しいことはわからないのですけど、ミレーヌ様は何者かに誘拐された模様です。
貴様、何のためにそこに行かせたと思ってるんだ。言い訳はいい。全力で探したぜ。
Michael has a
申し
point.
訳ありません。私が至らないばっかりにミレーヌ様が何者かに連れ去られた模様です。
なんですって？あなたをこちらに連れてきたのは間違いだったわ。とにかくあなたもすぐ行ってミレーヌを探しなさい。ミレーヌにもしものことがあったら承知しませんからね。
はい、わかりま
You
した。
just told me you brought me here. How is it my fault?
お待たせしてしまって準備が整ったのでこちらへ。どうした？
ミレーヌが誘拐されたらしいの。
なんだって。
そしてカルダス・カーディング29歳、深夜一人でドライブ中行方不明。乗っていた車はサービスエリアに放置されたままです。
Well, at least he's bringing her in to understand what's going on. Right? He's not keeping her in the dark.
I was just thinking last episode when I was taking my notes that they've never tried to take anybody after they sampled their Spiritia. But I guess this episode's proving me wrong on that one. We've just never seen it before.
I mean, they're saying it's a change.
それとこれは単なる偶然なのかどうかわかりませんが。
Well, I was specifically thinking about it when it came to Bobby. You remember how we were like, why fucking save Bobby? I was like, well, they've never stolen anybody after they took their Spiritia. Bobby would have been fine just sitting in the car.
今の2名以外に誘拐された人たちに何か関連性はあるのか？
いえ、一切ありません。
とにかく特別捜査チームを編成して探すしかありませんね。
ミレーヌのことなんだが。
捜査チームの別班を作ってミレーヌの捜索に当てるわ。あなたは心配しなくていいの。このシティセブンから連れ去られてたまるもんですか。
Besides the hundreds of people they've already put into comas.
以上がサンプルスピリチアを分析した結果だ。
サンプルそのものを奪えばスピリチュアは無限。
作戦は次なるステップに進んでいる。スピリチュアファームプロジェクト。
これからはサンプルそのものを奪う作戦。
私の夢が叶う時が来た。
At least I feel like we're moving forwards, though. The plot is on track now.
隠してもダメだぞ。ミレーヌ様が誘拐されたんだ。貴様たちが絡んでないわけないだろう。こら待て。
ちゃんと直しておけよ。
貴様ら。
Is he Parson Truddy or just very hard-headed?
To be fair, I think it would have been funnier if he just bust through and kept going.
このグババだけが現場に伸びていた。
グババ、大変だったな。
I guess just to explain why Lessons seem to need to change shirts in the middle of a recording. This is actually a day later. There was a power outage. We're rejoining the episode now.
ああ、あなたですか。捜査に積極的な恋人って。
And as we discussed last time, we found out that Guvava is an alien.
この区域を営
So,
業地区にして
Yeah,
there's
just
that.
picked up on one of the planes in travel.
ここから走り去るトラックが目撃されているそうだ。
それに間違いないだろう。
よし行こう。
I
とにかくその
don't know how to feel about the description of Gamlin as the hyperactively helpful boyfriend.
あっちにいる
Oh, he's not a jackass.
おい、どうしたんだ。
ミレーヌの居場所が分かったんだよ。
Ah,
I'm sorry, is he
helpful
part
fat-
robot? What is going on?
I don't know. It's the whole, hey, Lassie, did Timmy fell down the well? Yes.
It's just the noise that it's making. It's so high-pitched
Yeah.
and constant as to feel robotic. I do like the changing middle cut screens, by the way.
グババ、
Yeah.
頼むぞ。
おい、グババ、どっちだ。左かまっすぐか。よし、こっちだな。
Now, remember,
Yes,
Vivatus did the same thing when they were looking for Mylene and Alice
マックス艦長、
before.
また一人行方不明者が増えたとの連絡が入りました。ロバート・モイリス、フォールドセクション B 勤務。
フォールド勤務中にか。
いえ、休暇中とのことです。
マクロス7の運行そのものに介入してくるつもりですかな。
ならば私を誘拐すればよい。
I mean, unless they're gonna mess with the fold system and fold the entire Macross 7 colony to wherever the farm is gonna be.
ここのどこかにいるわけか。
I also have to indicate that I've noticed that they are not very consistent with Vafidus' body.
Height?
No, there's certain frames where they draw Vafidus sideways, and they look like a tall, skinny girl instead of this hulking person that they seem to be face on.
なぜ貴様がこんなところに。お前こそなんだ。この人たちと知り合いですか。
はい。嫌というほど知っています。こいつらは私に任せてください。早く例のトラックを。
ああ。トラックがこの辺りに潜伏しているのは間違いない。手分けして探そう。
はい。なぜだ。なぜ貴様はいつも俺の邪魔をする。
あんたとは関係ねえよ。知り合いの女の子。
Gamblin has the hairstyle of a villain, a businessman villain from like in late 1800s British novel.
ミレーヌ。お前か。ミレーヌと会ってたのは。
グババ。
しっかりしてくれよ。デートの相手も守れないで。
なぜお前たちの方こそミレーヌさんを。なんでグババを。
お前には関係ねえよ。
関係なくはない。
うちのバンドのメンバーなんだよ。
ミレーヌさんが。
そんなことも知らなかったのか。タク。
待て。ミレーヌさんは私が
Do not
探
like
した。
this interaction.
探したきゃ勝手に探せ。お前には見つけられねえよ。
Okay, that is not the thing you say to the guy who's worried about this girl.
作戦は順調に展開。迎えの船を求むとのこと。
よし。イギル、出撃だ。
I'm just not blaming Gamlin
Why
for
did they-
Mylene being assaulted in the women's restroom.
Yeah. Okay.
Look, you know Basara's answer to every problem is singing.
Yeah.
The same song, too, by the way.
一体何をやろうとしている。
歌うに決まってんだろ。
コンサートなんか開いてる。
However, actually, it does make sense if you think she's being abducted by the infiltrators. I mean, Basara doesn't know this, but the fact that they go after High Spiritia and him singing causes High Spiritia actually makes him a target, so it would lure somebody out. Not her. I didn't mean her.
No. How the hell did she... Okay.
That's what I'm saying. She's a fucking ghost. She's a ghost and Guava is a robot.
Okay, this is sort of
stupid. It's very stupid. Again, it makes sense in the narrative, but Basara doesn't know the narrative.
Yeah.
Guava's gonna fucking explode by the end of this episode. So I gotta imagine that the warehouse district has horrible acoustics.
Yeah. Yeah, but Basara's song is so powerful that, you know.
He already needs speaker pods to do shit with it, so.
Why don't...
Because she's gonna use the song to wake everyone up. Remember, it's the Docker thing.
Yeah.
That was then proven in the Alice episode.
Just try to get out of there.
And again, it's the fact that they can hear the song regardless of where they are. The same way I said that Ray was doing when Basara's singing in space and he's on the ground next to a tree. This is why cult starts.
Yeah. Also, wouldn't they be guarded by the people that kidnapped them?
They could be locked in the room without a guard. Or maybe the guard's outside.
I mean, but still be dumb. I mean, they hear the...
Well, we would know that the guards would be more interested in the fact that their Spiritia is rising than the fact that they're singing. It's the whole basis of the Spiritia farm thing.
地下にいる。俺の歌が伝わったぜ。バカな。レイ、行こう。待て。
I think by default the thing is that we're on Gamlin's side because Gamlin is using logic.
あんなので分かったというか。はい、こちら D2。ガムリン、敵だ。出撃するぞ。了解。ここは任したぞ。
And they're gonna think he just fucking walked off because they ran off ahead.
小型機多数、中型艦18、大型艦1、
Oh.
エリア412。
Remember, Giggle was like, why don't we just do a full-on assault? And maybe this is the way Giggle took it.
誘拐した人間たちを収容するつもりですな。
一機たりとも近づけるな。
I mean, you have warship. Why aren't you shooting? That's another thing. They're supposed to have these warships, and the warships don't seem to have guns. They don't use the guns in the warships.
一機たりとも近づけるな。了解。
I don't know.
奪われてたまるか。
I did the listing before of all the ships that we know exist, specifically the warships, and none of them ever actually fire anything other than the... I forget what they were called. The sensor pod things.
Yeah.
Other than that, it looks like they're Valkyrie heavy. To the point they're spreading Valkyries out across the fleet. And that's how they used up all the oxygen in their airtight container.
コンテナで運び出す気だ。グババ、もう運ばれたんだ。G18 エアロックか。ファーム A のサンプル到着。直ちに輸送機に収容。輸送機に収容。
I guess they didn't need guards since they're just like legally transporting goods through proper channels apparently.
サンプルたちを積んだ輸送機発進まで010。
よし、輸送機ごと収容し。
Like if I'm on the ship and I'm like monitoring where the bad guys are, it's like why are the bad guys guarding one of our docks? One of those speaker pods went to an effective position.
Yeah.
They put your finger down a gun barrel.
Oh, at least he's doing something effective.
Oddly, I guess he didn't consider ramming through a ship and everyone who might have died on the inside of the ship due to that an attack. Yeah, I'm surprised he got out of his VF-19, considering there's a giant fight inside still.
Hey, what's happening here?
The Enterprise is separating from the saucer section.
They sabotaged it.
緊急分離システムが強制作動させられてます。
なんだと。
何？どういうこと？
Oh, they're gonna take the whole ship.
Remember, they messed with the fold section. It's exactly what I said. They're gonna fold this thing to wherever their spiritual farm thing is gonna be.
たこの俺をおとりに使いやがった。シティセブンが
My wife. Or ex-wife.
So this is the version where they kidnap the people that happened. The same thing happened as CF1. Instead of being Misa, Hikaru, and the crew, it's the entire city.
Except not really. That was going to be Mylene and them because those were the samples. And remember back then it was Misa and them, and it was the we need information.
Yeah.
So the samples would be information in this case. I don't know. There's no real lineup for this because this is we're gonna
It's just
steal.
a bigger scale.
Well, this is no because it's a spiritual farm. The samples was all the information before, so this is more like when Gold shows up to nuke the Earth. Because
Kinda, yeah.
the samples would be Misa and them. That's the information gathering, and then Gep Nick or whatever their name is.
Yeah.
Says that's the spiritual farm, and that's Gold saying, "All right, we're done with your things. Kill them all, or my clones rather. Kill them all." Except this time it's not kill them all; it's harvest them like the fucking Matrix. Well, I'm assuming. I don't know what the real goal is. It's we don't have to hunt them anymore if we can get infinite Spiritia.
So force them to sing to keep regenerating the spiritual. That's the only way it could work, I guess.
うるせえ軍人がいなくてサバサバするぜ。
どうすんの？宇宙の迷子になっちゃったんだぞ。
次回ホールドアウト。俺の歌が暴れるぜ。
I feel like we're really reusing some of these names. But yeah, no, sort of. I would have to guess they made a specific note that they got musician Spiritia already, so they might have a thing that will automatically do the effect without having to have people sing.
Yeah.
Because obviously I don't think their thing is going to be enslave the population, make them sing to one another. That would be another level of... That would be like jumping over Basara's stupidity with stupidity.
They don't need the entire population to sing to itself. They just need to capture the singers, enslave them.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean,
or record the music, and once they have the record music, they just play the music.
That might be that might be the musician Spiritia thing. It's effectively recorded. They sampled it. We saw that when they got it, Lord Gep and Nick put something together in their little floaty sphere thing.
Yeah.
So it could be that they're just creating a system that will keep them regenerating Spiritia. I think my original thoughts were maybe that they were going to find a... I don't know. I have had a lot of original thoughts. Well, because remember, I theorized that maybe these guys don't have Spiritia, and that's what they need to survive. Like, they are vampires on Spiritia. Or that they just can't regenerate their own Spiritia for some reason. You've seen Stargate Atlantis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if Spiritia is like the life force for the Wraith.
Yeah.
That's why these guys, they come out every 500,000 years and they harvest or they hunt Spiritia. The Wraith go into hibernation and they wake up every whatever amount of time they say in that show. And then they hunt life force with their hands. So, I mean, could be the similar thought here. Maybe the Wraith are inspired by Macross 7. But
or the movie Life Force.
I've heard the name. I don't remember the movie.
Essentially, I don't. You don't mind the spoilers? It's a cool movie. Yeah, Sir Patrick Stewart is in it. So
it's a movie. I don't mind spoilers for a movie.
Essentially, vampires are aliens, and they basically are attached to Haley Comets. So every time Haley Comets come in, they basically drop to Earth, do their thing, and then leave. Well, they send a ship to investigate Haley's Comet. They find the vampires, bring them home because they look like humans, and then one of the vampires, or like three of them, there's three of them, escape, right? And so they start hunting people and all that, and they kill two of the vampires, and the female vampire and the lead of the space expedition. At the very end, they kind of get together, and so something happens and they leave. Right? It's an interesting movie. I don't remember exactly. The ending is like, oh, so they pull a Star Trek, the movie version where the human and the vampire get together, or like the human and the robot get together, and we solve the problem. But it's been a long time since I've seen it. But yeah,
Well, now I
I
know.
thought it was a cool movie. Yeah.
Now I know why I haven't seen it. I mean, I'm not saying that's bad. I just mean if I read that synopsis like on the back of a VHS tape, I wouldn't have rented the movie. So
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I only remember.
I mean, I've watched a lot of bad movies and a lot of B movies and things like that, so I can't say that I've not like watched or rented bad movies. It's just space vampires just doesn't like tickle me any. It's like doesn't really get my interest going. I gotta say, I wasn't too in love with the Wraith on Stargate Atlantis either. It wasn't until the what are they called, the robots, the replicators show up that I'm like, okay, this is my villain.
I actually didn't like the Replicators because it felt like it was a repeat of a story that they already had done.
Literally the opposite for me. I liked the Replicators because they were a return to continuity that I had already liked.
No, but the original Replicators were not made by the Ancients, and these Replicators were made by the Ancients. So it's like
I think one was inspired by the other. Yeah, because remember the ones in our galaxy had followed to fight the they look like the Greys. I can't remember their names after the Norse gods.
Yeah, I know. Yes,
yeah. They're a follow through.
The Asgardians,
the Asgardians. It's a follow through. They're lesser. They're lesser because they had followed the Asgard to fight here, but they are originated in the other place.
Really? I mean,
because remember they use whatever technology is available, so they're literally just using what's around them. That's why the ones that come from the first ones. God, I can't remember any fucking thing from Stargate anymore.
Because the first one was this girl who turned out to be an android, and she had been made by somebody, her father, and then she made the replicators because she was bored. And when she got angry, the replicators escaped. The replicators escaped to the through the Stargate, and they somehow found their way to Asgard space. And now they were having a battle with the Asgard, right?
See, that's in line with what I remember. So my problem with the first Replicator episode I remember right now is the one where they get on board the Russian submarine and they get called in.
Already that. Yeah, that's not the origin.
See, so my problem is I was watching Stargate like when it was first coming out on Showtime back in the day, and then it went to Sci-Fi Channel. That was a long time ago. I don't remember a lot. I just remember that it was the Asgard thing was that they were in. That's why their birth rates were nowhere to be found, and they were in a losing war with the Replicators, which originated from the other galaxy. So that's all I remember about that. I don't remember the early episodes. I just remember that I like it when continuity follows, and I'm not saying like I like it when they reuse stuff from the show, and people are like,
I mean, they did that.
Well, I've seen that in like reviews of like Picard and things like that, where they say, well, they're not making new original stuff; they're just reusing stuff from the show. It's like, it's a fucking shared universe, of course. It's stuff that we already know exists. I don't have a problem with stuff that already exists because the show made it exist already.
I mean, if it's well used. I think they just need. I think Atlantis always felt like the Voyager of Stargate. Like
the problem is, I love Voyager. See, when Voyager first came out on UPN, I would watch Voyager back to back with Babylon 5, and it was like just a great 2 hours of television for me. Also, I wasn't strongly in the sci-fi mindset of tracking shit. So, like, it's not like, what the fuck, they shouldn't have any shuttlecraft left, you know? Or, why is every time we come back to a new episode, they're right back to where they were before, and they haven't lost anything, and nothing carries through episode to episode? I wasn't thinking how poorly they were managing how the show could have been. Like, they could have, well, I guess they were following in Battlestar Galactica's footprint. Because Battlestar Galactica,
the original series.
Yeah, the original really wasn't keeping track of, how many starfighters have we lost, or, there was very few connective tissues between episode to episode.
I mean, they were following the footprints of TNG, right? That because TNG did that all the time as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
TNG's had some themes and some ideas, like, oh, hey, we need to have a two-parter. Okay, let's drag something from Worf's past or Data or something. That's when former storylines became important, but usually it was like self-contained episodes, right? Although when they tried to do like major storylines in the new Battlestar Galactica, I was like, you're doing it wrong.
well, for me, that's just the problem of rebooting, in that I wanted to see, with modern special effects, modern storytelling, the same stories I'd already watched, and it's like no one's gonna do that. Which I didn't
I mean,
realize until, again, we've had this conversation before, until they got to the first episode and they didn't wind up at a casino planet.
yeah. I mean, to me, there's more problem. The main real problem with BSG was that it made a lot of promises and it never really delivered.
Well, to
Right?
be
It was
fair,
like,
their finale came at the writer's strike, so
well, but also I think it's that they set up the show as like, oh yeah, the Cylons have a plan. No, the Cylons
we've
don't
been
have
at
a
length
plan.
about this too.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have no
So,
plan. Apparently, their plan was, I don't know. They're like, see, my problem is I barely remember the ending because I so gave up. Like, I remember what's his name, the boyfriend guy, with his head shaved in like a bathtub, connected to a bunch of
yeah,
wires,
husband, in
and
fact, yeah,
yeah, and then it
ex-husband.
was just, what were they? They were ghosts in modern Earth, as in the future or something. I don't.
Okay.
I just don't
Make a very long
remember.
story short. Essentially, the name of Earth is whatever humans came from. So there was an original Earth, apparently, that got nuked because there was a war between the robots and humans. So they go to the 13 colonies. They lose technology. They rebuild technology. They rediscover advanced AI, build the Silence rebel, and then they created the new Silence, which really was an experiment to transfer minds between bodies to artificial bodies so they could live forever. But the downside of that, if you do that, you get immortality, but you can't procreate. Those are the Silence. Then they had two groups: the people that did the experiment, they were like the Secret Seven or whatever, right? But they had their minds erased by the bodies that they created. They created the other Cylons, the other 11 or 12, how many there were, and among them, I think it was 8. The one played by the guy who was in Quantum Leap, not the star, but the guy who was always helping him. Well,
I didn't
he
even know
got
that guy
he
was still alive when Battlestar Galactica the remake came out.
no, he died a couple of years ago. Stockton, I think was his last name.
You mean
He
Al
discovered what
on
was happening.
Quantum Leap, though?
Alan Quantum Leap, but his real name. And great actor, by the way. He got so mad that when he discovered the truth, that he erased the memories of all the Cylons, right? These other robots, which are not really Cylons in a way because they're not made. And then he went to get to the actual Cylons and took over them to enact his plan. His plan was to get revenge on all mankind, basically, to kill them all.
Do you remember when the Cylons were like giant red lizard aliens?
Yeah, that was the original intent. That
Yeah.
they rebelled against their lizard aliens, and they got
Just
lizard
the
masters.
original Battlestar
Kill them
Galactica.
all.
The one
And
that
kept the empire.
Baltar
Yeah.
cowtails to before they
Yeah.
give him a assistant robot called a Lucifer with glowing
Yeah.
diode head, and
Yeah.
that's the one I want. That's the story I liked. The one where they literally spent less time writing it than the actual the modern one.
Yeah. Anyway, back to this. We have the fold system. They fold it off.
I particularly
Let me
enjoy
put
the
it this.
fact that they abducted one guy in the maintenance of the Fold division and got control of the whole fucking system.
Let's say this way. Here, the baddies are hyper competent. And while the humans are trying to be competent, they don't measure. They're not measuring up, right? And then you have Bazara trying to do whatever he's trying to do.
I don't think that the bad guys are hyper competent. I just think that their
I mean,
goals are still mysterious, that nobody knows
they're
what to do with it.
they'll be more effective in what they're trying to do than Centrati ever were.
Well, yeah,
That's for
but
sure.
again, the Centrati were just pure force. These
Yeah.
guys have a goal. They have a plan, if you will. and, and we don't know what it is. Kind of like Battlestar Galactica. Anyway, the idea is that we don't know what the plan is, and they have the ability to. Their infiltrators aren't cross-dressing and walking through the middle of the street, right? They,
Getting laughed at.
however, they are just as like I don't know. They like Dark City. These people. So I mean, they still stand out, and they attack people in like the middle of daylight in a crowd. So they're not super competent. Like
They get away with it without getting.
Well, you remember
one of
2
them,
episodes ago, they just like flew in a bunch of mechs in the middle of the night, in the middle of the Macross City. They're getting away with unexplainable shit. Like, how did these things not get detected flying in, but also got in the middle of a shootout in the middle of the city? And that's not competency. That is a writer's prerogative.
True. So yeah, that was the episode, which was interesting, but again, that giant question mark over what the hell Basara was thinking. Yes, it worked that they sang back and they were to hear them. We don't now that we know Guava. What's the name of the alien?
Guvava, Guavava, I think is what it says.
Guava, yeah, sounds like guava.
No, I've been saying guava too, but it's because it's the
guava.
word I know more than guavava.
Guava. Not only has the ability, it's an alien, not a robot, has also the ability to track Mylene
As
through
I
walls
said,
and all
though, Vapidus did the same thing like 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
They tracked them with it was like raining, it's dark, they didn't see the car in front of them because the car had already made the turn a long time ago. But Vapidus was like, do, boom. You know? It's like, so I think I'm leaving heavily on this, like, mysterious, subversive radiation permeating the universe that also has a song in it.
Yeah.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
not
I
gonna say
feel like
anything
that's
about
what's
that.
being indicated to me. Look, I don't
Yeah,
know what
but
future shows indicate that you might be thinking in your head right now, but to me, the fact that Basara is singing in space, and we know that he has to use speaker pods to be able to interface with other ships to be able to hear him, which indicates that the vacuum of space prevents his song from being heard, which means that Ray, sitting in the middle of the rain, back against a tree, bleeding out, shouldn't be able to sing in tune with Basara, but he's singing in tune with Basara, and Vapidus is constantly drumming out a beat that seems to be in tune when completely separated from anything else to what everybody else is singing. So they're interconnected by this song, and
somehow
the only thing I can think of is background space radiation, because what else? What else is there? Are they being hit by a constant stream of neutrinos? Like what? Yeah, so
I mean, it could be like music of the spheres kind of stuff at this point.
that's basically background space radiation.
Well,
I'm assuming you're talking about like Doctor Who, which is the music of the spheres. That's a very specific episode about the songs that, like the rotations of the stars and whatever.
Yeah, that's an old concept, old up to the 19th century, where the Earth was encompassing this sort of all celestial bodies were spheres, and they were supposed to be encased in this very large crystal sphere, right? And
Spelljammer goes on with that.
Yeah, space is filled with this. Actually, space is not a
Ether.
vacuum; it's like filled with ether or
aether. Sorry, it's the AETHER. Ether.
Aether. And so sound. Each planet would have a vibration that would have this sort of cosmic connection between all the planets, right? And that would be it, right? It's a little more complicated than that. Also, very fanciful.
I mean, could be worse. There was an old sci-fi novel, not that old, maybe like 70s old, that I remember I read once, where they used psychics to keep connections between Earth and a deep space expedition force. That they went out to like just like do reconnaissance on planets or whatnot that they thought might be able to hold life. And the psychics start getting this interference the further out they get from one another, which shouldn't be a thing. Long story short, and I guess this isn't a spoiler because I can't fucking remember the name of the novel. is that the stars themselves are alive and they telepathically communicate with one another. And the reason it never came up for us is that our sun is too young to be
To wake up
conscious.
to
Yeah.
be
So
conscious.
it's only when they get into like interstellar space that the communication of other stars between one another starts interfering with the psychics. And so
Yeah, that's
if it
also
was stars communicating and they're sending a song to us, I would not be happy.
yeah, and also the fact that perhaps planets have their own spirit, its own spirits. And it's just it's a cool rabbit hole if you want to do like pseudo science sci-fi fantasy,
Yeah,
like
sure.
science fantasy. Yeah, that if you go for that, it's like yeah, no. In fact,
I mean, there's one of my old
Mira
favorite one.
Mirad song,
I would say one of
Mirad
my old
song is
favorite
based.
books, The Planet at the End of Time, features intelligent life that lives within stars and sends out high-speed neutron communications between one another. So, same concept there too.
And oh,
That's not
oh, you
gonna
can't
work.
see it.
Nope.
Oh, it's not working.
It's
Oh,
funny. I was
it's
literally
Myriad
just
song.
watching a stream the other day of somebody who was trying to juggle in front of the camera, and every time the balls left his hands, they would just vanish. So he effectively wasn't juggling at all.
Oh, here it is. Myriad song. It has a lot of stuff from
Yeah, I assume
from
you're gonna
Theta.
dive into Zen harmonics.
Yeah, which is part of what it is, and it's based on all the idea of the Song of the Spheres and all that. I'm still reading it though because I got this other book,
Is it gonna be the Aliens expansion book? No.
and I got this,
Okay. Sorry, I was
which
literally, I
I'm
think,
reading.
just talking to Arkloyd the other day about the inclusion that I tried to put into the Aliens expansion book for Myriad Song that didn't get included.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's where we at, and I didn't hate this episode in many ways because it had a lot more action, and I saw Basara go like, "Crew singing, I'm gonna save these people." Good, you were on point. It didn't work out, but you were on point, right? He was not like, "Oh no, I'm gonna sing." No, yes, they did the singing part, but once they got into the into the ship, it's like, "Oh, screw this! I have a giant robot. I'm going in." Right? It's like,
It
finally, Basara.
it
That's what you're supposed to be doing.
it is the, yeah, what was the summer episode called? It's just
Uh,
another recounting of Basara being willing to rip through metal to save Mylene. Because you
yeah,
remember when Mylene's freezing to death, he's like, "Oh, there's 17 walls between me and her. Better start ripping through them."
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, that's what I mean. I get that he's trying to be a pacifist. He doesn't want to kill anybody. I kind of respect that, right? I'm not anti-pacifist, or like I have my issues with it, but it's not like, oh my god, somebody's a pacifist. And no, I actually appreciate, like, we were watching, for those who were watching Pluto with us, and you should check it out. The third episode just came out recently. Well, it'll be years, it'll be like a half a year from when you see this, but
no,
from
literally, I
when we
think
recorded,
it's what episode 4 is literally just out on YouTube right now. So
yeah,
literally, end of next month will be
yeah.
Pluto on YouTube.
So yeah, there's a character which I liked a lot, Collapsilon, which is a pacifist, right? And and I like the take they had on that on pacifism. It was pretty accurate, right? And so yeah, the, I'm not against Basara being a pacifist. We must say like, oh, you hate Basara because no, I actually I don't hate it. It's just that he's ineffective, right? There has to be a point where things are blowing up and you're just standing there singing. It's not doing anything, and therefore gambling is right. You're interfering, right?
I prefer Basara's version of pacifism to, say, Vinland Saga's version of pacifism, which is just let them beat the shit out of me until they let me get my way. So,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I got so much hate for that, my opinion on that one, but there is a scene near the end of the second season where a guy called the Bear Puncher or something like that, because he's so strong, he punches bears to death, and they say the main character wants to see the king. And I'm like, no, fuck no, we're not gonna let you see the king. And someone's like, well, we'll hit you a bunch of times. How many times do you think we could hit him before he dies? And they go with whoever made the highest bet in the crowd, and that's like, it said like 90. And it's like, sure, let's punch you 90 times in the face, and we'll let you see the king. And they all start laughing because no one's gonna fucking do that. It's fucking stupid, especially the guy called the Bear Puncher who punches bears to death. And he goes, "Sure, okay." And then they punch him 90 times and he sees the king. He's so unrecognizable by the time he sees the king that the guy who knows him from the past barely recognizes because he's so fucking messed up from being punched in the face 90 times. Mind you, my whole conversation of this is it takes one bad punch in the face and you fucking die.
Yeah.
In a normal day, there's stories about a baby getting slapped after being born, kicking the doctor in the head, just the right spot, fucking dies. Human life is real easy to end.
Yeah. But that's the ultimate. That's the
Well,
ultimate
I think the
revenge,
story
right?
is like get struck in the temple or something like that. You
Yeah,
know.
I know. But it's still funny. Like, oh, you hit me, dead motherfucker. You're my first notch. This guy was literally a born
I
killer.
mean, I don't know the end of that story, but literally you have to imagine that the doctor's also holding the baby, so you kill the doctor and the baby just hits the ground too, so...
I mean, there's probably more people in there.
I guess it's the baby... Would the baby get charged with a murder-suicide at that point?
I don't know if the baby actually would have done. Depending if
I
it lands
guess...
on his back, it could be.
I don't know.
Could survive.
Not many stories end with a baby being dropped that end well. So...
I know. I mean, you shouldn't drop your babies. I'm not saying that you should, and certainly you shouldn't throw them. But yeah, I mean, if the baby survived, he's a natural born killer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, what do you do? Yeah, I killed the doctor that brought me to this world. Damn.
Well, my final thought on this episode is that I liked it because it's one of the last few episodes that proves everything that I've theorized about the show so far to be true. Basically, all the predictions I've been making have been coming through to fruition in these last few episodes, namely about the nature of Spiritia, what the bad guys' plans with it might be, all of that. So I appreciate that I'm not out in the weeds on this, that I'm not making it shit up and it's not coming true.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that they're keeping the mystery, as you said before, by doing like the spackle thing, like dip feeding us, right? Deep feeding us, right? Drop by drop by drop. That's how they're keeping the mystery. And they're not really like, oh, here's a misdirection. Like, oh no, whatever they're saying, it's what's happening, right? They just play it straight, right?
So, I would anticipate this next episode is going to be like the escape from the Zentradi episode where we've got a bunch of new information. We're not wondering what the Zentradi are or about anymore. Now we've got to get that back to the people who can do something about it. Or maybe Fulmo's finally going to come back with a whatever the fuck he thought when he first saw them and held back. You know, they just broke half the ship away. Fulmo's going to have to give it up. So, yeah.
I think with Fulmo, I say he's sort of formulating this theory or this hypothesis, and he doesn't have all the pieces. I don't think he's being deliberately obtuse.
He more like, saw them and said, no, it couldn't be. And then Max is like, you know something? And he's like, no, I don't know anything. So
which is weird because he was the first one to give theories in the original show. It's like, well, this is the information we have. This is my theory. And now he's like, let me not say anything.
Yeah, so he's holding back, especially now that they've done all the research on their mechs and everything, so he has all this information in front of him. So yeah, he's holding back. Maybe because he thinks it's too stupid to be real, considering it's a 500,000-year thing. But, you know, I didn't want to mention it because it's an old Zentradi legend. You know, he's holding back regardless of why.
Yeah. Also, the thing is like, I'm now looking back, I find it kind of creepy that every so often his face is there. Like, hey, we're doing this, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, here's Bo. Like, blah, 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 blah. Like, how the hell you got there? Do you micronize and then move and then macronize into the new container? I mean,
I don't know. I only ever see him on the bridge.
No, there was a time where they were analyzing stuff and literally his face was like there. Like, how the hell do you got there?
I don't remember this. Okay.
And I thought, oh, maybe it's a screen, like they're showing him in a screen or something. No, his face was literally there. Like,
I mean, if it happened once, I'm sure it'll happen again. So I'll be on the lookout for it now that you brought it up. All right.
Anyway, that's my take on it.
Yeah, well, this has been us for this episode. Once again, I've been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stone Face Reactions. There you go. And we'll catch you next time. Bye bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?